everyone, hope you're all well. I'm here today to film a little bit of a different video for me. I'm just kind of chilling. I actually have a job related video for you guys today. I'm sure lots of you guys have watched my I quit my job video and lots of you guys left me the loveliest comments. I literally feel like you all understood where I was coming from. I was really nervous to actually film that video because I was thinking lots of people are going to be like, why would you just leave your job? You know, you liked it, it was secure. But I think a lot of you understood that it was just time for me to take a different step, take a leap, and also just find something else. So I actually have I'm going to a store today to sort of like see what it's like, and then tomorrow I have my own like big girl day at work. They're gonna trial me out, see if they like me, see if I like the place. And it's only been like a couple of weeks since I left my job, not even, I think it's like a week and a half, and I thought I would come on here and give you guys some tips and tricks on interviews. So if you haven't watched that video where I talk about my job situation, definitely go and watch that. I'm not really gonna go too much into it. All I'm gonna say is that I think that interviews, depending on your sector, can be very similar but also are quite different. But I've just kind of made a general list here on things that I think are important, so just take bits of it, take everything with a pinch of salt, really look into finding a job. Don't kind of rush it. Even me, I am in no position to rush what I'm looking for. I really want to find the right hours for me. Obviously pay is important, so be sure that you want to leave your current job. Make a list, even if you have to, of the pros and the cons of your current job. So for me, for example, pros were stability. I know how everything works. I like the teams that I'm working with. I just find that I've been working for them for so long that it's just comfortable. But then also list the cons. Can I grow? Is there potential that it's kind of just become a little bit too far to travel for me? Things like that. Just take into consideration your situation. Then when you have decided that yes, I probably think it's time to leave, also take into consideration how long your resignation period is. So in pharmacy, like the company I was working for, resignation time is 3 months. Like 3 months is a long time. I put my resignation in October and I only left in January. So take that into consideration. Most jobs normally have like 4 weeks, depending on whether you're on probation or whether you're like actually staff. But so for example, for someone like me, I actually was like, okay, in October I was like, yes, okay, I think I'm ready. And it obviously took like 3 whole months for me until I was able to actually leave. So that's really important. Then apply to lots of different places. So I know lots of people have a LinkedIn account. I actually have a LinkedIn account, but I don't really use it. I should have probably used it a little bit better. Also job sites like Indeed. I'm not sponsored or anything, I'm just giving you guys examples. So I personally found my job listing that I'm attending today on Indeed, but it depends on your sector. Again, I know people find jobs on Facebook. I don't even really use Facebook, but I know of people that have found and been offered jobs on Facebook. So it just kind of depends. Utilize the internet. So like with pharmacists, we have like I think the C&D post jobs. Like it just depends on your sector, but definitely don't just stick to one stream of finding a job. I think definitely look around. Also, I have a cold, so if I sound like uber nasally, then that's why. Then second thing, make sure to read the job description. There is not really much of a point in like applying for a job that you're just like, okay, that doesn't sound like the kind of job that I want to be doing. You're probably never going to find a job that is exactly like your current job, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. I know obviously for someone like me, I was doing lots of services and things like that in my old store. Not every single pharmacy that I've applied to does like flu jabs and travel vaccines and stuff like that. It just depends on like what type of thing that you want to go into. So definitely don't go and apply to, like, let's say that you're a pharmacist, don't go and apply to being like a doctor, because that, like, I can't do that. So look into the stream of what you want to do. Take into consideration things like, for example, I'm not applying to hospital jobs because I don't really want to be a hospital pharmacist. So things like that are really important. Also, when you're making sure to read job descriptions, look at whether or not your skill set is going to apply to that job description. So as I said, there is no point of me applying to be a doctor because I'm not a doctor. Same thing, for example, I'm a pharmacist, but I have no hospital experience in pharmacy, and if a job is looking for 1 year's hospital experience, maybe apply, but it's going to be unlikely that you would get it. I have heard of, like, for example, in pharmacy, if you're a community pharmacist, you can move into hospital pharmacy. It's not like unheard of, but Also look into like what they say. So a lot of jobs, for example, for me require like 5 years experience in clinical pharmacy. I don't have 5 years clinical experience, so there isn't really much point me putting like energy into applying for a job, looking into the job, you know, into the company and things, if it's not really going to apply to me. It doesn't really make sense. Be open-minded, but be realistic. Again, every job, as I said, is not going to be your perfect job. The job description might not be exactly what you're looking for, but you never know. When you go into the interview, you have a chance to ask questions. So even though something might not sound 100%, you never know when you actually get that telephone call saying, hi, I'd really like you to come into interview. You never know that they might actually say something that really appeals to you. I've had that with a couple of jobs that I looked into. We would speak and then they would say, oh my God, this is also like a factor of it. And I'd be like, oh my God, that's actually really interesting. So be open-minded, but also be realistic. Like, if there is something on the job description that is like a no-go for you, don't apply. Have non-negotiables. So a non-negotiable to me would be like distance. So for me, one big factor of leaving my current job was just that I was like traveling a ridiculous amount to get to the current store that I was working at more often. So for me, anything above like half an hour, 40 minutes is just pushing it, and that is including traffic. I really don't want to like travel for like the whole of my life. I do a lot of things after work, and it was just becoming like I literally was spending an hour and 15 minutes in traffic to work and back, and it's not even far for me. I think it's like I need to remember how far this store is from me, but it's not a huge like amount of miles, and it was just because of roadworks and silly traffic and things like that. So definitely factor that in, and don't go and apply. Like, there is no point of me applying for a job that is 50 minutes away without traffic, because with traffic that's probably going to be an hour and a half's travel, and it's just no point. So non-negotiables can be things like I said, like distance. Pay obviously is a huge thing. If you're leaving your job because of pay mainly, and then you find a job but then they're saying, I'm sorry, we are not offering any more than, like, let's say for example £10 an hour, but you in your past job were on 12, there's not really much of a point of like, again, putting your energy and time into it, because they're not going to budge. If they have said like non-negotiable, which again, like when I have had phone calls about jobs at the moment, I have spoken to the recruitment people and they have said, listen, it's a non-negotiable X amount, and like, would you be happy with that? If you are happy with that, obviously great. If you're not, again, what is really the point when that is such a big thing? Like, pay at the end of the day is a huge factor in a job. So definitely take that into consideration. Also, for a lot of people, things like bonuses and benefits and sick pay and stuff like that is important. So just write down before you go for a job interview your non-negotiables. Be patient. You might not get a phone call in like a week. You might not get a phone call in like a month. I have had situations recently where I submit an application and I literally get a phone call the next day. Like, to me, that's crazy, but it just goes to show that if you have a strong CV, I could do a whole video, by the way, like this video, and let me know down below if you would like a CV video, because I hadn't like updated my CV in literally like 2-3 years, and I don't know, I hope I'm good at writing a CV, I don't really know, but it just goes to show that if you have a good cover letter, and I actually think a cover letter is really important, a cover letter and a CV, that you can get phone calls like literally the next day. And it's flattering at the end of the day, you know, like to put an application in and then get a phone call the next day. Like, I've never expected that before. But I've also had situations where you get that phone call and then they say to you like, hi, we're really like interested in you, we'd like you to come for interview, and then they don't call you back for a month. I've literally had that the other day. I had a job call me in Christmas time, and I was told like, yeah, we'd really like you for interview, and then I didn't really hear back from them for a month, and I've now been told the job is on hold. So it's just one of those things. I'm obviously now quite content with the one I'm going for now, but it just goes to show that the job world is a very political place, so you need patience. Don't be disheartened. I felt so disheartened like when I first got, that was my first job that I like properly got called for, and I was so disheartened, but look, now I think I found something that suits me even better. Then I've written believe in yourself. Like I said, don't go around thinking like your CV is the worst thing in the world, like I'm never gonna find a job. Actually, like, no, do you know what? I have really good experience. I've worked really hard. I've worked for the company that I was working for so long, and I've learned a lot, and I actually, do you know what? I think I've got quite good experience. So believe in yourself and believe in that your skills are applicable to whatever job you're applying to. Research a job. Don't just kind of look at the job description and then just go into the interview. You need to prep. Listen, at the end of the day, if you want this job, there's going to be maybe, like, you never know, like 6 other people, 10 other people, 20 sometimes in central London, and like, obviously it depends on the job. There could be so many people after the same job as you, and you kind of have to go in there and just kind of blow them away and also just set yourself apart. So researching the company that you're going into is integral. So for example, if it's a huge company, you need to research who funded it, when was it founded, you know, like little things like that, and also kind of integrate that into like your answers and your questions that you're going to ask at the end. There is no point going in there and, like, let's say I'm interviewing for, oh, I can't even think. Like, let's say I'm interviewing for the BBC, I want to be a presenter. There is no point of me like just going in and like being so into like ITV and then not knowing anything about the BBC. It just wouldn't make any sense. You need to do your research. They're going to want to know that you're interested in the company and that you're going to give them something. It's not just all about you and building your professionalism. You need to give them something too. Then I would say attend lots of interviews. I know I did say, like, if a job doesn't sound quite right, don't really apply, but if you think when you've had that phone call, or, you know, when you've kind of really looked into it, oh, I don't know if this job really is for me, I would still really recommend you to go for interviews, because it's almost like a practice, like a mock paper. Like, I remember when I was in school, we always used to do like mock papers and things like that for exams, and it's kind of a similar thing. If you attend mock interviews, when you go for that big interview for that really big position that you're really interested in, you're probably going to do better because you already have a kind of indication of the questions, of the interview style, how you feel, how to get over those like niggly butterfly nervy things that I get anytime I like have a meeting or an interview. And I think it's really important to just try out different things and get practice. Also, just practice in front of a mirror or with your mum or your dad or boyfriend or whatever, because you'd be surprised how much it helps to like have a kind of idea of the kind of questions that you're going to get asked. Then I would say also know some background on the industry. So for example, with me, pharmacy is an ever-growing like field. Know what's going on in the news. This is probably something that I'm not great at because I don't really like watch lots of TV. I don't really like read newspapers unless I'm on my lunch break. You know, like, I'm not super focused. But if you are in that sector, like, I try to look up different things on the companies, if they've been in the news recently for whatever reason, obviously positive, not negative. Little things like with pharmacy, I think in community pharmacy, every pharmacy is now going to be getting this scanner to scan products, and like, I didn't know about that, but maybe had I done more research into community pharmacy, I would have known that. So I'm going to come on to another point about that, but that's the kind of thing. I think definitely do your research on the whole industry as a whole and not just the company. Then we come on to something really important, and that is an obvious thing, but dress smart. If you go into a job interview and you look scruffy, if you have really strong perfume, if you're wearing tons of makeup, like, I would never wear makeup like this for a job interview. Like, to me, this is a lot of makeup. Definitely take those things into consideration. I would say a blue or a black smart suit, like a jacket. If you want to wear a shirt, or like I wore a roll neck because I'm always cold. You can hear from my voice, I'm sick even now. Definitely dress smart, not showing like tons of skin, short skirts, things like that. I think hosiery, like tights and stuff like that, personally, obviously unless it's summer, like, I think it's nice and smart, but I would say nothing too above the knee in terms of dress or skirt. And in terms of heels, again, kind of factor in where you're going. If it was like a big company, I would definitely wear heels, but for a smaller, like for example, this interview that I've gone for, it's not a huge company, I wouldn't wear heels. I think you'd look a little bit ridiculous. So just factor that in. And as I said, no strong perfume, no red lipstick, nothing that's gonna like super deter from you. I think it's really important to like have good eye contact. If you guys want an updated like what kind of makeup I wear to work, because that is literally the makeup that I did video, then I can do that for you. So I wouldn't ever wear like a lipstick like this. I literally just wore a tiny bit of lip gloss. Just kind of use your brain, basically. Next point is, and this to me is number one, be there early. Be there early.
Be there early. Be there early.
Do not to be there late. I mean, no one likes anyone who is late in any job setting. That is the first impression. If you go to a job interview and you're late, let's say I was the interviewee, I would almost rule you out straight away, because that's the first time, unless obviously like literally the tubes, like all the tubes were shut down or whatever. You need to give yourself plenty of time to attend this interview. So the night before, you need to do a research, like a Google Maps search of where you're off to, and give yourself at least half an hour leeway. So for example, when I went for my interview, I think I had to be there at 1 and I got there at 12:30, so I knew it only took 20 minutes from my house, so I left at 12. I think it's really important. So like for example, for me there was a tiny bit of traffic, so you also then need to find a parking space. Like factor all those little things in. Also you might like need a wee, like a nervous wee. I always have to go for a nervous wee before an interview. Like things like that, you need to factor it all in, and I think it just makes you look professional if you're in there at least from 10 to 5 minutes early. I wouldn't be like half an hour early, I just think that's a bit too keen. I think like 15 to 5, even I would probably say 10 minutes early is perfect. I think any less than that, I don't know. Even being on time, like on the dot, I would personally feel so nervous. I always need like a little bit of time to like woosah. So also just use that as a time for you to like take a breather, and by that time probably that the person who's interviewing you is still kind of like milling about, so you have a few minutes to just calm down. Then we have confidence. When you're interviewing, be confident. I think little things that are really important in an interview is a handshake. I think having a nice firm handshake says a lot. Definitely don't go in for like hugs and like kisses and stuff like that. Like, I mean, cheek kisses on interviews. I think that's a little bit like, obviously unless you know the person, but a nice firm handshake tells so much about a person. Also eye contact. If you're in an interview and this is how you're speaking to everybody, so because you might have more than one person in there, and this is how you're answering your questions, just looking away, it's not going to bode well, especially for something like me. Like I'm a customer facing role. If I don't show that I have that eye contact ability, which in a camera like this when you have a viewfinder is difficult, but in real life you're going to struggle. So for example, in this interview thing that I had 2 people in there, and you need to make sure that if the person is sitting here and here, that you are kind of, you know, sharing that eye contact. Don't just focus on the one person. Definitely make sure to look at both people and give them the same amount of attention, because there is a reason that there's 2 people in that interview. Then I would say, don't lie. Okay, if they ask you a question and you don't know the answer, trust me, you will look 10 times more stupid if you make out that you know what they're talking about than if you don't. You would look absolutely ridiculous if they started talking about a sector that you thought like you've never heard of, and then you just kind of try and give your 2 cents, and then they just look at you like, you're just gonna look ridiculous. If you don't know something, be genuine and ask. Like, I didn't know about those scanner things because I just didn't know. Like, I just didn't. I don't have in my own shop. I haven't heard of that before. So it's little things like that. Definitely don't lie, and trust me, I think that your future employer will actually value your honesty rather than you sitting there and trying to make out that you know everything. Google questions in your field. This is obviously in terms of questions. There's so many things on like Glassdoor and different forums that might be like a few years old, but they give you a kind of indication of questions. It'll be questions that are generic, like, what do your friends say about you? What is a negative about you? So something like that. I will go on to that. There's just general questions that I feel like people ask, like, where do you want to be in 5 years? And always make them positive. This is one big one. If they ask you a question like, tell me something negative about yourself, do not say something like, I'm always late. Do not say something like, I like to be a leader and I don't listen to anyone else. Like, people are not going to be into that. You need to always spin it into a positive. The real like one that everyone says is always,
oh, I'm a perfectionist, so I'm always wanting to be perfect at everything.
Try not to use that one. I can't remember if I don't think I got asked that in my interview, but another question that they might ask is, why did you leave your current employer? Don't go in there and be like, I hated this person, I hated my manager, I wasn't paid enough. Like, you're gonna look bad. So always spin everything into a positive, and at the end of the day, if you're a positive person, you're not lying. And I think it's really funny, like, I can just imagine if I went in there and I was like, I hated my old, like, you can't do that, because they're not going to want someone who was negative in the first place. Now we're getting to the last bit. This is another bit that is important. I actually brought like my own little book, and I also made my own little questions about like pharmacy and questions that I wanted to ask the employer myself. So don't kind of just, if they ask you at the end, do you have any questions? If you say no, they're just going to be like, oh, like, why? So definitely be ready with some questions, even if it's little things like, I don't know, ask them about them. Are you looking to integrate more services into your pharmacy? Is there any way I could help integrate other things? As you can see from my CV, I do this. Would that be interesting to you? Like, that's the kind of things that I'm talking about. Definitely don't ask something like, how long has your pharmacy been open for? Because you should know that one. But it's things like that. Obviously apply it to your field. I'm just giving you an advice. But I think if you finish an interview and the interviewee hasn't asked you a question, you'd kind of be like, oh, okay, like they might not be that bothered. So that, you guys, is the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I will definitely update you guys on the job situation when it's like 100%. I am super excited for this year. I just feel like you need to take risks, and I hope I've made the right choice. I really miss my team. I love them so much, but yeah, it was just one of those things. But I hope you guys are all doing really well. Let me know if this video helped you guys at all. Let me know about your work endeavors. What are you guys doing? What jobs do you do? Actually, tell me down below, what do you guys do? I'd be so interested. Are you still at uni? Are you working? Yeah, just leave me, like, even if you don't ever comment, leave me a comment down below just saying, this is my job, because it'd just be so interesting to see the kind of things that people do. So I love you guys all lots, and be patient, be confident, and yeah, super cheesy. I'll see you guys all soon. Take care. Bye.